G'day Pickleball family. First thing to know, as shared on the dinkpickleball.com, MLP and PPA player pay cuts and leadership changes. On Tuesday, November 28th, pro Jill Braverman sounded off on Twitter regarding pickleball player compensation within Major League Pickleball, MLP, and the PPA Tour, PPA. MLP players have been asked to reduce their next year's salaries by 40%. PPA players have not been asked yet. Will they? Few things. One, aren't there collusion antitrust issues with this? Two, like we said on our last podcast, players need to leverage collective bargaining ASAP. The tweet left all of us collectively asking what? But soon after, we spoke to a number of key figures and eventually came into possession of an email from MLP to its roster of talent. It became clear that Braverman was referencing this email, but even she was unclear on some of the details around this latest shakeup in pro pickleball. So let's lay out the key takeaways. PPA and MLP are requesting that players consent to compensation reductions. It turns out $15 million per year in salaries isn't exactly sustainable for either organisation. Ben Johns and Annalee Waters have both agreed to six-figure pay cuts, and other PPA contracted pros have agreed to lesser pay cuts. The proposed MLP pay reduction is 40% and will reduce work obligations proportionally. Current MLP contracts stipulate 200 days of work. For example, player salary is $100,000. New salary would be $60,000 with 120 workdays. MLP players who consent to the pay reduction will be guaranteed 10 slots in PPA events. MLP players who don't consent will not be allowed to participate in PPA events and will instead be placed in a development program, which consists of clinics, camp, and appearance requirements that will count towards their workday obligations. No competition outside of MLP events. MLP has parted ways with Commissioner Brooks Wiley. The doozy of an email delivered to MLP contracted talent was via the league's executive committee was packed with new information regarding pro pickleball's path forward. One of the most surprising pieces of information, we have parted ways with Brooks Wiley, MLP Commissioner, effective today. We appreciate Brooks' contribution to MLP and the sport of pickleball and wish him success in the future. No additional details are available yet regarding the change in leadership. Wiley has been instrumental in MLP's growth since its inception 2 years ago. His departure, along with Steve Kuhn's recent resignation, signals the end of an era for the no longer nascent league. The email suggests that officials from both sides have been working to close the ongoing merger between MLP and PPA, citing the considerable time spent analysing and discussing the best way to move forward. The MLP execs say they have determined that certain changes need to be made to ensure a sustainable business after studying the economics of the business. The most immediate and pressing change is to adjust MLP's and PPA's expense structure, including but not limited to player compensation. Here's what we propose. Your 200 annual days get reduced to 120 days, and your guaranteed annual compensation is proportionately reduced by 40%. This proposal, not a mandate, suggests that if a player's current agreement provides for 200 days and compensation of $200,000 annually, it would be modified to 120 days for $120,000 annually if the player agrees. Players who accept the proposed regulation will be guaranteed a minimum of 10 slots in PPA events each year of the contract. What is a slot exactly? Not quite sure. Again, MLP contracts are based on workdays. Each MLP player is committed to 200 days of work, whether that consists of competition or otherwise. A 40% reduction would shrink the obligation to 120 days. If players don't accept the pay cut, they'll be placed in a development program. That means they'll spend their workdays in camps, clinics, event appearances, and MLP events. They won't be able to play in PPA Tour events. The Dink spoke with multiple decision makers and pros and has learned that some PPA players have already accepted pay cuts after 3 days of negotiations. Ben Johns and Annalee Waters, the top two players on the PPA Tour, have agreed to six-figure pay cuts. It's unclear what other PPA contracted players have agreed to a reduction in compensation. After both sides entered a spending war to sign players earlier this year, it's no surprise that the financial burden needs to be lessened. Zane Navratil and Thomas Shields of the PicklePod podcast frequently speculated that both the PPA and MLP would ultimately seek to renegotiate player salaries heading into the new year. But that speculation wasn't unique to PicklePod. It doesn't take a financial guru to recognise that allocating $15 million per year for extremely inflated, well above market salaries isn't the most fiscally conservative strategy for a startup that's burning cash. Theoretically, this move paves the way for a more sustainable model and makes the organisations less reliant on raising more capital. But how will the players respond? Second thing to know, as shared on pickleballunion.com, Macon, Georgia is now home of the world's largest pickleball facility. Macon-Bibb County, in conjunction with the Urban Development Authority and Visit Macon, proudly announced the official opening of the Rhythm and Rally Sports and Events, the world's largest indoor pickleball facility located in Macon, Georgia. The news was confirmed as part of the continuing Macon-Bibb County initiative to rejuvenate the former 1.1 million square foot Macon Mall. As part of the announcement, Rhythm and Rally Sports and Events confirmed it will be managed by the Sports Facilities Companies, which also owns PBX Pickleball. This organisation connects retired professional athletes with the game of pickleball. This cutting-edge complex will boast 32 courts, 16 on the upper level and 16 on the lower level, organised into 4 pods of 4 courts each. Spanning 150,000 square feet, the facility will provide climate-controlled courts, day-use lockers, showers and a pro shop, promising a clean and enjoyable playing environment. Rhythm and Rally Sports and Events aims to offer an exceptional experience for local players while drawing attention from state, regional and national tournaments. We began booking events in this new facility long before construction was complete, remarked Gary Wheat, CEO of Visit Macon. Macon continues to position itself as a premier tourism destination, which is evident by it being named as one of the best destinations to visit in 2024 by Travel and Leisure magazine. The sports and especially pickleball market is excited, and we look forward to attracting many new groups, events and regional tournaments to this state-of-the-art sports complex with so many amenities to the Macon economy. Mayor Lester Miller commented, "We have a strong pickleball community here in Macon, one that is welcoming of all people, whether they are local and wanting to learn how to play or are visiting here for a tournament. With Rhythm and Rally, I see that community growing even larger, stronger and closer together, all while attracting larger tournaments. And that's why I'm proud of who we're working with to make sure it's an overwhelming success." And if you're enjoying this update and have come this far, please be sure to ding that like button on the platform you're either watching or listening to it on, so that it can be found by and shared with other fellow pickleballers. Third thing to know, as also shared on pickleballunion.com, what's pickleball's allure for the over 70s? 3 different players speak out. The SFIA 2022 Single Sport Participation Report on Pickleball found that the largest age bracket of pickleball players was 55 and over. However, we are now seeing many reports of younger age categories taking up the game, including several colleges announcing pickleball clubs and teams. This senior age range still dominates when it comes to daily nationwide articles about the sport. So, in an attempt to find out exactly why it should be so popular with the more senior members of our society, CNBC interviewed 3 very different players over the age of 70. Tennis played a big part in the life of Malin Coetzee, 84, especially in his 20s. While working at Loma Linda University in California, he utilized their tennis courts to play games with his friends. One day, about 5 to 6 years ago, a friend of mine had started pickleball on one of the tennis courts. You can put 4 pickleball courts on one tennis court, he says. He said, "Watch, come over and try this pickleball stuff." So I did, and that was it. I never went back to tennis. His tennis pursuits not only kept Coetzee fit, but also contributed to his physical well-being. Coetzee sees pickleball as a more socially inclusive experience than tennis, asserting, "I met more people, fun people, and it was a sell from there on." Residing in Redlands, California, Coetzee's Pickleball Collective collaborated with the city to establish a cluster of 8 dedicated pickleball courts. While they did that, they built a little area with a roof over it with some tables and chairs so that people can, in between games, sit and talk, he says. Having more courts has brought many more people in. In fact, people not living in this area have heard about the group of people that plays there. So we have people coming in from surrounding cities, he adds. When talking about what he feels is the best thing about pickleball, Coetzee says it's a toss-up between the exercise and social interaction. They're both something that I appreciate. Beth Henry's venture into pickleball, however, wasn't as seamless. I'm not an athletic type of person. A lot of people who play pickleball are ping pong, racquetball, or tennis players, but I never played any organised sport before, 73-year-old Henry told CNBC. So for me, pickleball was a lot more of a challenge because I'm not an athlete. I had to work a lot harder at it. Henry's interest in pickleball was piqued by the active involvement of her acquaintances in Rancho Cucamonga, California. Wondering what all the fuss was about, she sought out and joined a local pickleball group at a sports complex in her area. Embracing pickleball has since propelled Henry to make her physical fitness a priority. It's inspired me to hire a personal trainer and to be a lot more active, she says. One of the things that I do is I make sure I get 10,000 steps a day in, and all of that not only is good for me, but it also helps for playing a better game. Henry's pickleballing circles have now grown to the point where they reach way beyond the group she hooked up with a couple of years back. My husband and I have made so many new friends, so not only is pickleball a fun game, it's been a very big social part of my life, she says. With her newfound companions, Henry established a subgroup of about 15 women within her pickleball club, popularly known as Chickleball. This group gets together twice a month to enjoy casual pickleball games and communal meals. Henry belongs to another group that has been on excursions together, including a memorable pickleball cruise. Although she is delighted with the friendships she has made through the sport, Henry faces a delightful predicament. I have so many new friends that I can't take on any new friends anymore. Ryo Shinagawa, 72, has been a tennis player for decades now. His introduction to pickleball happened in 2016 and stemmed from his reading of a local newspaper feature on a beginner's pickleball clinic at a nearby senior center in Corona, California. I said, you know what, let's go over there and check it out. I just showed up, the gentleman put a paddle in my hand, and I played until noon. Totally loved it, and I drove to a sporting goods store and purchased a paddle. Been playing pickleball ever since. Shinagawa takes part in pickleball sessions 3 to 4 times every week, lasting 2 to 3 hours each day. The mental delight he derives from post-game endorphins leaves him feeling fantastic, although he acknowledges occasional physical fatigue. His affection for the sport remains unwavering despite such moments. As a USA Pickleball ambassador and certified instructor, Shinagawa extols the social dimension of pickleball. My kids are all grown, they live in the next county over, and I do see them, he mentions. But I tell everyone I have made more friends and good acquaintances through pickleball within the last 6 to 7 years than my lifetime. He says his involvement has forged at least half a dozen intimate friendships and further connections with over 150 acquaintances, a testament to the sport's communal allure. Pickleball is what brings us together, and then we start to find the common personal experiences in our lives that keep us together. It just brings out good people. They may first come out just for the game, but then all of a sudden they start to realize it's more than just playing a game. Paddles up.